medium amount of light. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Roach Wiggle, May 18th, 2023. Reporting in this week. I am in pretty good spirits, decent physical health compared to weeks prior. Very all over the place, but have been getting through auction orders and frantically cobbling my schedule together and trying to get on top of everything vital as I await this weekend, which for those who haven't been, I guess, looking on the site or on the Discord that much, this Sunday or Monday is Pup Day. Victor's child bride, girlfriend, will be arriving on one of those 2 days, quite a bit sooner than I anticipated, but it's how it had to be. And so that's where we're at. Hello, magnificent animals, Jojo Macro, Tennyson Kingsley. Tennyson, how did everything in your box? Oh, you told me how your box arrived. Everything was all right. Okay, I forgot. So much happening. What happened to your hair? It's even crazier each live. Well, this time I, again, usually go for lunch. Usually I shower and shave and blah, blah, blah before each live stream, but I've been packing auction orders and just regular orders Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday all week. And so I haven't basically, by the time that I'm dropping off boxes on Thursdays lately, I don't have enough time to get back home and get nice and pretty. So this is my hair just sort of combed and not fully pampered and left to dry. Yeah, geez, it's been, I don't know where April or May went to. It's been pretty crazy. Is there anyone you're not sending out this week? Loki, yours is one of the ones that I think I briefly saw your comment on the Discord post thing. And what I meant was the last of the orders, excluding, a handful of big ones, which are like Zed Monkeys and I can't remember what. I think he uses Junior on here. Zed Monkeys, Juniors, JoJo's, TJ's are going out this week or went out this week, except for the orders that have Rainbow Stags, because have just gotten adults closing from there. I'm going to wait until the adults are sclerotized. So Rainbow Stag auction orders have not shipped and will not ship this week. They will ship as soon as, or will start shipping as soon as a trio of adults has emerged, and I make sure there's both sexes in the trio. So, but the wait is coming to an end. I just can't believe how long it took the Dorcas and the Rainbow Stags, because other stuff like I have Grapevine Beetles, and obviously it's not a Lucanid, but that pupated and a close to adulthood in like 2 or 3 weeks. And the Dorcas and the Rainbow Stags are just, it's been weeks, months. I mean, I actually had some Dorcas females that matured like maybe half a year now, maybe even 4 months before any males even popped up and were just surface active and doing their thing. And then I've got all these other ones that are just, they're just sitting in their pupal cells. Some people take them out of them. I think that if you do that, you run the risk of them exhausting some of their fat reserves and whatnot, and I feel like you probably decrease the expected lifespan and fecundity for the beetle if you pull them right away. I think some things that definitely should be left in their cells, like grapevines, it's so short, but it's like a weird. Now you could probably pull grapevines right away, but I think Lucanids, you should let them stay in until they're ready to come out. Seedlings, you probably should do that some of the time. I pulled Macinerina because it's another one where it seems like they will break out of the cell very soon after they close. So it's like, well, there's not a window of time where they're sitting there and whatever's sclerotizing or maturing or whatever. So I've been inclined to pull those out, but I think Buchanan's best to leave them in there. Hello, says Braden. Hello, Braden. Chains Worlds says, "Hey, my arthro peeps, dog, are you good? I'm all right. I'm really looking forward to the dog this weekend. Saturday, it's a lot of everything, but I'm doing well. Rainbow Stag C blocking my bugs from arriving. I think if again 2 of them have matured, and as soon as there's a third one and it looks like it's going to leave the cell again, it's just I might even extend the offer if this gets out of hand. I might extend the offer to ship the other things for the cost of shipping the rainbow stags afterwards for those orders. But for now, it looks realistic that at least one order of rainbow stags could be going with involving rainbow stags will be going out sooner than later. Hello, some eggs. Is there somebody I missed? Zen Monkey saying that things will get easier with 2 dogs. Yes, it will. It's they call it chicken math with chickens, where it's like, oh well, I have to get I want chickens. Well, you can't have just 1 chicken. You gotta get 2 chickens. Well, if you're gonna add more chickens, you got to get more than 1 because the 2 will pick on the 1, so you have to get another 2 chickens. It's really not that difficult to take care of another 5 chickens. So let's just get another 5, and then it just sort of goes so on and so forth. But with the dogs, I think Victor is really gonna like that. Just today, again, I got back from shipping probably around 6:20. I was like, Victor and I are not doing our Thursday stroll as much as as much as he needs, as much as I want to do that. But my neighbor Karen, she watches dogs, and she currently is not watching any dogs other than her 2 little Pomeranian Chihuahua mixes that Victor loves. And so I asked her, also my washing machine broke. That's another thing I should bring up. My washing machine broke, which has basically stopped me from moving towels through the laundry room, moving clothes through the laundry room, all this other stuff. And so I asked her, hey, can I bring over some laundry? She's like, certainly. She's going to do my laundry for me, which I greatly appreciated. But I was like, hey, can I bring Victor over for 20, 30 minutes and just let him run around? Because she is I have my yard's big, and there's he can go wherever he wants if he jumps the fences, but there's certain paths that he's forced to go down, and to get around to most places in the yard. And her yard is just it's crabgrass lawn and just decayed woodlot behind that, and since he already watches a bunch of dogs, it's just like, okay, can I bring him over and just let him run around and sniff and stuff? And she was like, sure. So that's what we did, and that was more than enough stimulation for him. He was so into all the smells from all the other dogs that he barely paid any attention to her 2 dogs that were, they were jumping up and licking his balls and trying to sniff his butt and all that stuff, and he just did not care. He wanted to smell everything, and so he got some really good stimulation, and he, after running around her yard and sniffing all that stuff, his tongue's hanging out, and he's definitely very satiated. So I was like, okay, this is actually better for him than him and I going out, honestly. Brain says, do you find any replacement statosoma? I'm still working on that. The person that I talked to over the weekend does not have any ecstatosoma. That was my one go-to, was going to be the one person over the weekend. There is another person that I'm going to be talking with next week, and I'm going to work there. And if not, I will do my best to find, again, either the refund or value on Roach Crossing, or I might propose some other things. I guess one, not really huge news, but one thing that has happened in the last week is my megaphasma on the red cedar have started laying. And so I guess I can expect about 1,000 eggs in the female's lifetime. I didn't really crunch the numbers on last time. I think I had 3 or 4 adult females last time. But I didn't really, that's hopefully 1,000 eggs from her. You hope that it's ideal, but who knows what this strain on this diet will do. but I suppose I could try and propose that as an alternative for the ecstatosoma. Should push come to shove and worst come to worst. Some eggs, says Kyle, a bunch of my male red runners have been coming out with a shorter left wing, stunted. How's your humidity? Have to always ask that question. The house is somehow, I think, drier right now than it is during the winter time, with me leaving the windows open and it not being very humid outside. Like I've went to pet Victor a couple times, or just like give him a little kiss on the nose, and I've gotten zapped because it's so dry right now. Humidity here is 22%. It's what, almost into the lowest double digits. Oh, I gotta get my sprayer. So yeah, gotta be careful right now still. The winter, you've got that constant air movement from a furnace, and then in the spring, before it gets really humid during the summertime, you've got the air movement from outside. And really, I think part of it is when I close up this room during the summertime, and I'm not coming in here a lot, and there's no air being fed in since I closed the air conditioning vents. So the air, the humidity rises and stays pretty high in here over the summer. Same thing with the basement, because all the humid air sinks and settles down there with all the bugs. So next facility is going to be an interesting learning process. Some eggs, I try to get the humidity up more actually in there if you can. Sprayed down every day. So with the Shelfordella, Paraplanias, sorry, oh my gosh. With Lateralis in the wild, they're in like sprinkler boxes, which is, it's not airtight, but it's, there's some leaks and the soil's usually pretty moist in there. And I think you can up the humidity in there with maybe even covering part of the lid. Just watch it during the summer again and watch your temperature, because if the temperature drops and humidity goes up, you can have fungal issues and stuff like that. So, anybody got any questions about anything while we're all here? Anybody got anything new going on? Also, I have added that next week is the Gomper live stream, and Victor might not actually be at the house. He might be at my parents' while I'm getting the other dog acclimated. So maybe the Victor live stream without Victor. Pretty much summer here, so some eggs. Jane says it got that low here in the winter, and some red orobatomites were bouncing from the static or something. It got me excited. I think I had some red globular sprintil. Oh my gosh. Alan is looking forward to tomorrow. What's tomorrow, Alan? Also, before we get an influx of show bug, this is another thing I'm very excited to show off. The first dynastine beetle that I've ever reared from egg to adult, and it's very special. It's a Grantii, Dynasties Grantii, from the single female that Will and I found in the 2021 Arizona trip in Cave Creek Canyon. I got lots of larvae from them. I think Alan maybe had them or traded them off. I kept 3 larvae for myself, and this is before I've even raised Titius to adulthood as Grantii. Supposedly supposed to be more difficult. I don't know how true that is. It's funny because these went from egg to adult in the same amount of time that I've had several Dynasties Titius larvae from Alan that he wild collected that were 3rd instar when he collected them, and those are just now starting to just turn into pupae, which is hilarious. So very happy. I have 3 females that have closed, and I have and broken out of their pupal cells, and I have 1 male that just matured and hasn't left its pupal cell yet. So I'm pretty confident that I'm going to be getting a big crop of captive breds of these guys in the near future, and of this locality stock. And look how beautiful it is. Good size and all that jazz. Actually, can't really tell how big the male it is. It may not be the most impressive, but Magnificent Animals asks, how are your katydids doing? So I sent off my Stilpniclora group, the remaining ones, to a katydid aficionado who takes exceptional care of her bugs. And I have been patiently waiting to hear updates on the next batch of eggs being laid and hatching and whatnot, because I've just been too busy with something that needs that much meticulousness, especially before the move and all this. So like, I'll send this off to somebody who's really putting in and can put in the extra effort and resources to keep them going. And there's no eggs yet, but she told me today that she saw the 8th spermatophore from one of the males and one of the females, and she's like, when am I going to get eggs? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you've seen 8 spermatophores in this one female. She should have made some eggs already. So they're in the best hands that they can be in. I feel very confident saying that. Also, the lower substrate of my ivory head smells bad, like sulfury. Dry them out a little bit, perhaps. What are you feeding some eggs that might be contributing to the smell? I think I might be killing Cetalhorta through molts and ultra low humidity, says Zen Monkey. So, I had a lot of good luck with assassin bugs over the winter this year, despite the humidity and them all being in screen-lidded enclosures. But I was watering pretty frequently and making sure they had food. They can get a lot of their moisture from food, but the humidity definitely helps the eggs to hatch. Maybe you're saying, Animal saying, look at that dude. Yeah, she's very cute. And they're feeding and active already, and I'm so into them. And it's really cool. It took a year and a half, which is, I guess, fast for Grantii. I guess that's pretty fast to go from egg to adult in a year and a half. But I don't know. I'm enjoying them. The only thing with this is the wait. I don't appreciate the wait for a lot of these beetles. Oh, Alan says the After Dark live stream tomorrow. That's right, at 9 p.m. The uncensored, blah, 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 non-bug related live stream is tomorrow at 9 p.m. So that's going to be fun after I finish cleaning my garage all day. Brain says radiant heating may be better for winter humidity in your new bug facility. Yeah, I have to look into what the options are, and really it's going to come down to whatever is going to be the most cost-effective for heating a space. That's the bottom line with this. And everything else, my strategies will have to adapt around what is going to be the most cost-effective for heating. Exotic Wilderness's beetle. So excited. I love katydid so much. That person also hatched. I had... I can't remember the genus. It's that dark mass katydid from West Texas. It's something like Broneri or something. And I was supposed to send them the adult female that I received after they expressed abundant interest. And then I went to pack it up and it was dead. And I was like, okay, well, I'll send her the cup that has all the eggs that it's been laying in it. And she finally started getting some hatches now. So they're in good hands again. Elsie says, how are your flame leg millipedes doing? They're fine. They're more than fine. They're doing great, but I think I might have all male adults and maybe no females have matured yet, because I would think that by now I should have babies, but I don't see any babies. So I'm really wondering if maybe I just got sort of the poop end of the stick and ended up with mostly or all males as adults, because I can't. The setup's perfect. They have good humidity. There's reductioniscus breeding like crazy in with them. I haven't lost any of them, so it just seems weird that I wouldn't be seeing babies yet. Some eggs you can always send me a picture of your enclosure and we can sort of troubleshoot on why there might be a sulfury smell. Magnificent Animal says, I just want any katydid species. Well, the Stilpnichlora are actually, they're a great beginner species because they are very polyphagous. It's just stuff that requires that little extra of attentiveness or like resources that aren't available here 24/7. I've really had to put on the back burner, like and the extent of the stick bugs I have going right now. I have some Phyllium that are just sort of barely like continuing through their life cycle, and the Megaphasma. But the thing with that is I have red cedar in my front yard, so I can just go out there and cut it and throw it in there any day of the year, and that's why they've been doing so well for me, is because I have that infinitely, and I can put off refreshing the food long enough that it's not like, oh, they went 3 days without food and they all died. It's like, okay, I can do this once every 3 weeks, and there's plenty of food there, and even when after 3 weeks, there's still going to be plenty of food. So if I need to postpone doing even just this little bit of work, or I forget about it or something, things will still be okay. Some eggs, you could always just remove the deepest part of the substrate and compost it, or take it out of there. What I've done a couple times is, if roaches, the substrate's really built up and the roaches are kind of very active in the upper substrate layers, I'll tilt the container a bit. I'll just sort of scoop or push all of the substrate that they're active through to one side of the bin, and then I'll just go in with my hands and scoop out that compacted bottom layer and remove it for compost or whatever I'm going to do with it, and then just tip the container the other way and do the same thing on the other side. My animals asked about an update on the Ecstatosoma. No, the person who had them over the summer that I asked at the expo said that they don't have any more or any currently. I am currently talking to somebody else, or will be talking to somebody else next week who may have more, but I will wait for that before giving a resolution on that. Again, either a refund, an alternative, or twice the value of the auction win on the Roach Crossing website. So that's I need to contact somebody by the name of Bettina. Still haven't contacted all the people that needed some things swapped around in orders, but I'm really waiting to get through this. I still have four auction orders that need to go out tomorrow. So once I wrap up the live stream, Kai is supposed to swing by to pick up and drop off some stuff, and then I'm going right back to packing because my parents are coming over tomorrow at 9 to help me clean out my garage and talk about move and stuff like that. So I've got to basically have everything shipped by 9 a.m. tomorrow after it's been packed tonight. Phil says, it's D Grantii. So, Phil, I was just saying earlier that this Grantii made it from egg to adult in a year and a half, and we'll see how a good quality, well-tended to Grantii, how long they live as an adult in captivity, because there are some reports, I guess, of them living like 4 to 6 months and Tidius living like 4 to 8 months or something like that. So, as much as the short lifespan could be saddening, honestly, other than the long wait compared to like roaches to get this thing to adulthood was, kind of a pain, but it's actually not too bad, I would say. Somebody says I did take some of the gross smelling substrate out and put it in a deli cup, and it smells great after it dried out. I don't know, it might just be a moisture thing. All kinds of bacteria are more active when it's moist like that. Yes, very, very, very nice grayish ivory color there. Thought it was probably moisture compaction. Chains Worlds says some gravel in the bottom can keep conditions more basic as well as keeping the substrate more loose. Part that I pulled out, I replaced with cypress mulch, is as an experiment. Yeah, I mean, I've done that too, where I tuck in new substrate at the very bottom and let the roaches sort of churn it up on their own. You can just try what you feel, and the roaches will tell you if it's gone horribly wrong, because they'll just die in the worst case scenario. Alan says, pretty decent sized female. That's good. I mean, this is my first time rearing the species to adulthood, so I think what I want to try with larvae that I produce now is I will raise them communally for the first couple of instars, and then they'll be going into I think it's a 2-quart containers that I've been using for a lot of beetle egg laying and larval setups, full of the best top quality compost from my compost bin, and see how big I can get them, giving them that stuff is just phenomenal. And Gronfodorina species side stripe, I haven't even heard of that. And if so, any tips? Did you just get some of those? I assume that's why you asked. No, I haven't even heard of those. The last 2 months I've been swat of the loop with all the auction stuff and just getting back on track after the trip. Again, it's just me. And Angela did come and help out a bit with some stuff. A couple weeks ago. Invertebrate dude. Let's see what's TJ. I'll go to TJ's site and check out what's going on there. I do have the I do have the species unknown. I unfortunately lost one of my big females a couple of maybe about a week ago. Let's see. Maybe it's on TJ's for sale page, maybe, or wherever you have seen it. But yeah, I've been kind of out of the loop with all this stuff. I mean, there are some nice side stripe hissing. Oh, maybe it's the same thing. I see that they haven't given a definitive. I'm actually suspicious that that those Europeans who were doing the work on those were kind of being cheeky about letting the information out what they had found about that strain, and in a good way. So they may not be hybrids as I had suspected originally, but now I'm wondering if those could actually be like true dynasties, or not dynasties. Grandfordorina grandadiri. I'm wondering. So obviously Grandfordorina needs reworking, but as of the current definitions and whatnot, I am suspicious. They could be Grandfordorina grandadiri, but we'll see what is said about those. So hopefully I'll have nymphs soon. Again, I did lose my largest female, unfortunately, recently, but I think I still have 2 or 3 more. I actually wasn't taking the best care of them for a while because I was like, oh, these are just probably hybrids. So then after those people were being facetious about it, I was like, okay, I'll put them in an actual setup and see how that goes. And here we are. So still nothing from the Andromana Princessia either. I really think that maybe we're doing something wrong with the husbandry. And so I went the opposite route and I bumped the humidity on the enclosure, and we'll see if that produces anything in the coming months. So maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know, but I figured that I should probably go from being dry, if this hasn't been working for like half a year, to being more humid. Let's see, anything else of particular importance that's new within the next week? Again, just some beetle projects coming to fruition. Pellinota, Chrysina. Oh, I maybe got larvae from. Well, there's larvae from one of two special things. They're either Paracatalpa ursina or Pseudocatalpa seniorica. I'm leaning towards it being the Pseudocatalpa seniorica because the Paracatalpa ursina did not really live very long and did not seem to do much when they were here. And the Pseudocatalpa seniorica actually seemed to be doing more burrowing in the set. I reused the setup. It's a terrible thing for me to do, but again, I was pretty convinced that the Ursina just flopped and did nothing. So I reused the same setup for the Pseudocatalpa seniorica. And I saw larvae last night, and I don't know how many there are. I saw at least 2 through the side, so I'm hoping that there's maybe 10 times or more of that throughout the enclosure. And if there is, that would be great because that means that they're relatively easy to breed, or kind of easy to breed. They might prefer sand to oviposit in. I did white rot wood mixed with sand, but there were like kind of pockets of the wood. So I don't know how they're gonna mature, if they absolutely need to be in sand, but I think maybe in about 2 weeks I'll probe around in there more and try to get an idea for how many there are and where they like, what parts of that enclosure they prefer, if they like the more humid parts, the drier sandy parts, what they'll tolerate, etc. And hopefully get those available eventually. They'll probably, I don't know what their lifespan is going to be like, but with Pellinota, the ones from Michael Hare, hello, yes, this is Dynasty Grand TI. The Pellinota from Tennessee that I got from wild caught adults last year are actually maturing now, as are the ones from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So the ones from Tennessee are kind of a mix of like the orange with the black legs, and some of them have the tan legs and all that stuff. The ones from Tuscaloosa seem to be solid tan, so even the legs are tan. And then there's the ones from way down in the Florida Keys that are, the males are really bright red, and some females can be kind of like bright reddish orange, but are mostly more tan with some red highlights. But that's the funny thing, is that the ones from further north that I would have expected to take long to mature, may have needed a dye pause, are actually maturing before the Florida Keys ones that were, they were laid at the same time, they hatched at the same time. So I just thought it was kind of weird that the temperate ones are on a faster pace than the um, tropical ones, basically. Some Egg says, okay, I gotta go. Thank you for showing up, Some Eggs. I hope to see you and some of the other regulars tomorrow for the special live stream. Get this in some good light there. Oh, it looks nice and looks holy right there. Mine I got from the October auction are still chubby grubbies. Michael here, did you get Pellinota or was it Chrysina? I can't remember back then. But my goal is, so I have basically the four distinct variations with the sort of mix from the Appalachians, the solid tan-legged ones from like the further south, and then all the way down the Keys with really nice, brightly colored males. And the one that's eluded me actually has been the Michigan ones, where they're larger and they're solid orange with the really nice black legs. And Kai brought me a bunch when I first met Kai, and he was like, "Oh, if you kill these, I'm gonna make fun of you forever." And he brought me like a bunch that he dug. He brought me like a huge sterilite toad with like a branch that he dug up near his apartment, and it was like okay, and then like a container with no ventilation with a bunch of wild caught larvae in it, and they all died of fungal infection. And then he was giving me crap about losing them, and I was like, I can't even deal with you. So, but anyways, I haven't been able to get the Michigan ones. They're common in some places. Just this isn't one of those places. I have had one come to my back porch a couple of years ago, but it's definitely not a very consistent thing here. Tennyson says, my Dipteratrum and Chiricahua have been exploding population. Yes, the population explosion. The key and the real mastery is either managing that explosion forever or getting the colony to a nice sustainable point where you don't have to worry about explosions and crashes. That's such a soft beetle. Kai probably wants me to make hybrids with these Intidius. I considered it until I had that male, the male mature, and then it's like, well, now I don't have to worry about like these things' lifespan. They're gonna be mated with their locality and their species. Alan says, my key larga ones have all emerged, but the color is quite a disappointment. Maybe were yours from the same place as mine? Because my males last year were all, some of the females had some color, but definitely not nearly as much as the males, which were definitely like the full solid reddish orange. So I guess we'll just see what happens when I start getting adults, which I hope will be soon. There's some that have pupated, a lot of prepupal larvae. But man, with like rudolines so far, it's like, I guess it's kind of like a lot of beetles do. The seedlings don't really do it, but like they get to their full-size larva, and then it just takes them so long to settle down and pupate. They're just like, okay, maybe I'll pupate here. Okay, I'm going to pupate here, but I want to, like, make the cell. Okay, the cell's made, but I'm, like, not really ready to, like, pupate, and it just takes them forever. They'll have the cell made to look perfect, and they'll just sit in it and, like, not do anything for months, and it's crazy, and I don't like it, but I do like rudolines, so alas, I have to deal with this. This will also be pretty good, seeing if the Cave Creek Canyon Chrysina gloriosa need a diapause or anything. I don't think they will, but at the same time, I think that in the future with my Chrysina, even there, I think that I might actually cool them all, because I think that's why I got these Grantii adults as quickly as I did, was because I cooled the larvae. I love seeing your bugs. I hope you do a bug room tour. LC, I really want to do a bug room tour, and I have for months, but it's just like to do a proper video on that with editing and having everything look all nice and shiny. it's just not in the cards right now. I will certainly do one when I move because I'm going to want to show off the new building and stuff like that. But that's where a lot of the time and energy is. Like this Saturday, I'm sitting down with Angela, and we're going to sort of look at places I want to move and what real estate prices are like. And I'm talking with my parents tomorrow about like how can am I gonna how far away would I be? Are they going to need me to be closer or something or other? And and finances too, because this is a huge risk. I could go out and do all this stuff and have a gigantic bug barn and then find out that this isn't viable. So I have to do this as safely as possible with regard to risk of what I'm doing. So, but it has to happen. I have to move. That's for sure. With the other dog coming and with the way the business has been going, I have to move. But again, it's just going to be time frame and the economy right now and all those other fun things that I don't like thinking about. I just want to raise lots of bugs all day. So, but yeah, I hope that when I move, it's going to be. I think after getting a full-time employee, things are going to really move at a really fast rate because I have to be able to keep up with paying somebody full time and a living wage too. Hurry, get your low nail down before inflation explodes again this summer. But the other thing with that though is that depending on how much this house goes for and some other factors, I might be able to pay cash for a big portion of whatever property that I get. And avoid some of that inflation. And of course, I'm not one to be like, oh, la, 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 30-year fixed rate interest or fixed rate mortgage, la, la, la. It's more like, okay, how much more off the principal can I pay so I can get out of this indentured servitude as soon as possible? So, internet mathematics things then. So yeah, there's a lot of factors involved here. And it's awful to have to think about them, but obviously it's what I have to do. And I got to get somewhere because I can also, with more land, I can provide more goods to lovely people such as yourselves, not just the bugs themselves, but, people need leaves. People need, not necessarily, flake soil, but I'll be selling things like compost and more white rot and bark and all this stuff. And that takes space to prepare it. And to be able to make it more cost effective for people buying, because I think if I advertise more of my substrates and all that jazz and can stand behind my quality guarantee with stuff like, hey, if you buy this compost substrate from me, you're going to be able to raise Dynasty's Grantii from egg to adult without any problems, and they're going to be good size, and it's going to be perfect, and it's going to be great for you. So, but I have to be able to offer enough of that stuff to you guys while having enough for my own purposes, which has been kind of the difficult balance right now, especially with stuff like the leaf litter. I live in an oak forest, but like to get the leaves to the best state where isopods and millipedes really consume them, it's actually quite a bit of work. So, Chain says fungi, yes. Josh says bug room. Josh Suds says bug room tours. Hello, Josh Suds. Again, I think I'm going to put a lot of that on hiatus until I move. That's the priority. Is I got to get somewhere else. I got to get a building built, and I got to move, and I got to do all this stuff. And I want to be very professional about this, in so much as probably hiring somebody to do that kind of work for me. And I don't have the time for that right now, and things are not in an idyllic state. And they'll never be in an idyllic state, but they will be more professional. Zen says start planting acorns now, free leaves in just 60 short years. I know that's the thing, as I'm going to have to, a lot of things I have to figure out. And tree planting is one of them. I was telling my dad was giving me stuff about the interest rates and stuff, and I was like, when's the best time to plant a tree? It's like 30 years ago. When's the next best time to plant one? Today. So with stuff like that, I may not see yields on anything that I do until 10 years in the future or more. with some of the stuff that I planned to work on. So yeah, there's a lot of serious discussion going on right now, and it's obviously been very busy here with the puppy. The puppy, again, for those who are joining us now and who haven't seen on the site or the Discord, the puppy is coming on Sunday or Monday, and that's going to be another rearrangement of my schedule because she needs to get used to me and learn that I'm the boss and I'm the best friend, and so that means that the big lovable oaf needs to go off somewhere else for a couple days, so he's going to be with my parents. And I'm going to go over there. I don't want to be a burden on my parents. I'm going to go over there twice a day, and they live about 20, 30 minutes away, depending on traffic, twice a day to take him out and, make sure that he's not driving them crazy for a week, 2 weeks, whatever amount of time it takes for me to really feel like the new puppy and I have gotten a good bond. Eukaria says, woot. Yes, we did it, guys, and we got the chunker, the beefcake. She is, I was a little hesitant because a couple of the pictures, the first sets of pictures that I saw of her, she looked, she had kind of that look on her face that Victor gets when he's up to no good and when he's kind of out of his mind sometimes. And then I received more pictures, including the one that I put on the Discord and the website, and she definitely has a much softer gaze than Victor did when he was a puppy. He always had this sort of look of like, what did I do wrong? I'm so cute. I didn't do anything wrong. All right, cool. Alan's Pellinota weren't hard enough yet, and that's why they were ugly. Congrats, Alan. I was gonna say I see no reason why. I can get a little more light in here. That would be good if I had sunglasses on. We're gonna just put that back down for now. Yeah, that's great, Alan. It's good to know that it is just the genes with those. Man, she's so cute, so pretty. Let's see, what other things? I have other weird things pupating, emerging, more Macinarina, another locality or variety. We're gonna see if I fail with that again. I was able to, thanks to some very fortuitous circumstances, a couple of days ago, or was it more than that? 4 days ago? Gosh, it's been so long, and time just flies. Was able to receive some pure, non-integrated Cyanoniscoma speciosa cyanochlora, the sapphire fig beetles or sapphire flower beetles. I received 10 larvae over the weekend of the pure stock, not the integrated stock, and very happy for that. I had an opportunity to get the reds as well, but the life stage was not appealing to me, did not seem like a good investment for me, so I unfortunately had to pass those up. But as of right now, I have Speciosa, the Jucelini, and Cyanochlora, and happy to work with both of those. We'll see how things go. LC says, my little cousin is going to the bug fair in LA. Have you ever gone to it? No, I've never really been to any bug specific events. Like there's a couple in Michigan, like the Breaking Diapause at Michigan State University. I haven't really been to that. It's one of the downsides of being so immersed in the bug culture is that you don't necessarily get to enjoy it casually in those sort of contexts. Like going to Alabama was like, well, I could go to somebody talking about bugs, and then I went to Alabama. It's like, well, I am the one doing the talk about the bugs. There's no talk for me to go to about this. So, Magnificent Animals. I'm on my F2 of the Jocelini, and they do okay for me. I kind of thought that I would get more eggs than I did out of them. I got enough to double the amount that I originally received, and then I did I sold maybe a dozen or two. So as an investment, it was good for me, and as a breeding situation, I'm still like, I got to hammer out something here. Something needs to be a little different. I'm not 100% sure what. It's been suggested maybe they like more moisture in their substrate, but their enclosure had a gradient from like higher humidity substrate at the back to drier stuff towards the front, and all the larvae were at the front. So I'm not 100% sure if that was it. So I'll just, I'll iterate this time. Maybe it could have been the health of the individuals, some stuff, especially like roaches, if the larvae are in poor shape when they pupate and then they mature, or with roaches, of course, when they just mature, they're stunted reproductively and they can't actually produce healthy litters very effectively. So maybe that was the situation with the Jocelyn that I had. But again, I have somewhere like 10 to 15 of those holdbacks for myself, and so we'll see how that goes. Michael Hare. I have seen Metallifer. Shoot me a text or an email or whatever. It's going to be a hot second before I get the emails. Probably emails again. Probably, I don't know. It's going to have to be early next week at the latest. But again, with the puppy arriving, it's going to be a lot of time just being with the puppy. So I can do that in here and, do emails while she's sniffing around and hearing stuff. But obviously, I have to be ready at the drop of the hat for potty training and the dogs that need affection and all that other actually fun stuff. So shoot me an email and see how that goes. I did get. I don't know if I said this before. I now also have Dorcas titanus palawanicus. I think I have one male larva and two male larvae and one female larvae. Supposed to be the longest of the titanus subspecies. Although the castana color I raised was absolutely massive. Kai has it now. He's actually picking up the female that goes with it tonight. So I was quite happy with how that worked out. Currently waiting for more castana color larvae to be to hatch or be laid. It's I've been putting beetles into. I had them in these setups. It's very Asian. I don't know that number. It's a very Asian way of doing things. The high humidity breeding setups and stuff like that. And I feel like the male beetles are not really able to mate or do things properly in those setups. So I've been actually making separate breeding setups to give the adult beetle some more space so the male can court and copulate and defend his little log territory and stuff. And so we'll see how that goes, if that's actually the way to do this, because I was not getting good fertilization from the castana color females in the smaller, more traditional enclosures, I guess. So I've got a lot of beetles now too. It's a lot of roaches, a lot of beetles, a lot of isopods. Isopod husbandry went well. I think I did that last week. I don't know if I did that before the stream, but speaking of which, if there's somebody here who ordered the Scaber Red or the Red Edge through the auction, they probably contacted me through email. I haven't gotten to it yet, and did not receive that with their order. For some reason, my Scaber Red Edge just completely crashed. I don't know exactly why, because there was still some food and stuff in there. Could have been humidity related. I don't know exactly, but they completely crashed, and I was unable to fill that. So just if you're watching this and you're that person, be aware that I am aware of that and that you will be compensated, blah, blah, blah. But other than that, pretty surprising, a lot of my isopods are doing quite well. I lost my amber duckies or my species amber to porcelain disease. Occasionally have that happen in a couple of bins. Don't know exactly where it comes from. I remember it happening. I think actually my Porcellus dilatatus might be a carrier for that, because I remember for years when I was younger, I would find these sort of light gray, almost whitish individuals, and I would separate them. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get this like later hypo line breeding. And then I would pull more and I would throw them in this communal enclosure, and nothing ever really happened. They never bred. I don't know if they actually died very quickly, but I remember there was no breeding. I was like, oh, maybe it's sex-linked, blah, blah, blah. But I really think that it's probably porcelain disease, and that they're probably they've gained a resistance to it over the years, but it probably sterilizes them. Porcelain disease is a fungus that affects crayfish and isopods. I think it's different species for crayfish and isopods, but they're the same genus. And the symptoms are the isopods, they get kind of this sort of like cooked crab meat look to them where they get really whitish and they look kind of stiff. And when you view them from above, they kind of have a very like their midline becomes very sort of discolored. And I think it was only maybe like 6 months ago or maybe less than that somebody had brought up that that's what's causing this in isopods. And primary vector seems to be spread through the eating of dead isopods. Eukarya, actually, Alan had a good colony of ambers. I'm kind of waiting for Alan's to rebuild since Alan and I swap stuff a lot. But I mean, actually, if you had a list of stuff that you have available, shoot it to the email, and I could swap you for it or something. It'd be a couple of weeks. I need to get through the remaining auction orders first, but I would love to swap or pick up some more. Loki says, have you ever had a culture die off from a neon pink mold / fungus? No, I haven't had that happen before. Again, it seemed most of the die-offs that have happened have usually been to porcelain disease has been the big one, thinking back. Desiccation is another huge one with my setups. Hasn't been much of an issue lately. Oh, she's trying to eat my finger. Okay, she's a thirsty girl. We're going to put her back in her container. We're going to say goodbye. We're going to say bye, pretty lady, for now. Obviously, I'm going to show off the mail when that hurt. When it closes. But no, I've never had a neon pink thing kill off an ice spot culture. Desiccation, less commonly starvation, but usually in my setups those go hand in hand because they won't eat the like wood once it becomes drier and the leaves once it becomes dry. So desiccation / starvation hand in hand. Porcelain disease, and before I had perfected or nearly perfected my sterilization techniques for stuff, intruding stone centipedes was another big killer of things. Bye, pretty lady. Oh, she bit. Loki said, I had it in one bin, but nothing else. I saw someone mention I read, but I didn't see anyone have any. Could have been a slime mold. A lot of those, I've had slime molds pop up in plenty of that Fuligo septica has popped up in a lot of my isopod containers. And it seems like maybe when it's active, it can eat isopods like little monkey. But in general, I have not noticed significant losses in bins where it pops up. There have been some bins that it's been in where there have been some population decreases, and I think it's less because the slime mold is doing it and more because the conditions in the enclosure are more suitable, or the conditions that are more suitable for the slime mold taking over are also conditions that are not very conducive to isopod health. So I'm a bit cautious of it, but also it's more like, oh, I'll just, I'll add more leaf litter instead of wood or something to this bin and blah, blah, blah. Loki says, my orange emanations from the fall she got completely wiped out. Just suddenly they dropped dead and the bodies turned neon. Okay, so turning neon pink is not, in that situation, that is seen in roaches too. That is Serratia marcescens. And that is an opportunistic, very common soil bacteria that can infect living invertebrates. We're still not sure if this is the species responsible for the red coloration in cockroaches when they get this color. It could be another species, but 100% for sure in containers where there's too much humidity, I've seen this happen. Most noticeably, I've seen it happen with lobster roaches when I kept them with no ventilation back in like 2008 or 2009. I remember seeing old individuals that got limbs that were infected with Serratia marcescens, and they were bright neon pink. And then they didn't necessarily die. If you change the conditions, they can recover. But it will cripple roaches over time. And what else have I seen? Panchlora. I've seen it in Panchlora enclosures because some of them do like to be kept more humid. Sometimes if you keep them too humid and too cool, they will succumb to Serratia infections like that. But yes, the neon pink, it's due to Serratia marcescens, a opportunistic soil bacteria. And to treat it, you just have to alter the husbandry, basically. So, for example, this is from the Wikipedia article, but it's in my bathroom. If I don't scrub the tub, due to its abundant presence in the environment, its preference for damp conditions, Serratia marcescens is commonly found growing in bathrooms, especially on tile grout, shower corners, toilet water lines, and basins, where it manifests as a pink, orange, or orange discoloration as slimy film, feeding off phosphorus-containing materials or fatty substances such as soap and shampoo residue. So it's just bump the ventilation, I suppose. And it could have just came in their guts from coming from me. Again, it's a soil bacteria that's found everywhere and even in your bathroom. So it could have been the stress of transport, etc. Or that could be it too. They may have already been too far gone when you notice. With the Scaber Red Edge that I have or had with the big colony, it was doing great. Hundreds of them, so much that I auctioned some of them off, and then it completely crashed. It was actually kind of interesting because in that container, I was worried there's a color mutant of Armadillo officinalis in there, and I actually did a rescue mission to pull what I thought were the last of the officinalis out of there to culture them separately, because the Scaber were getting just like thousands of Scaber to like a handful of Armadillo. And so when the Scaber crashed and then I went digging around in there again, the more Armadillo had like come up from deeper in the substrate or out of hiding or whatever. And so I actually found more of the Armadillo when I went looking through there again. But I checked on that today because I was curious, like, am I going to have to resource these? And I saw one Scaber baby that was alive and was looking healthy. So my hope is that there's like 5 of them that survived whatever killed off all the thousands, and that those will then restart the colony. So I'm just gonna sit on my hands as long as I can with that. Speaking of Armadillo officinalis, definitely one of my favorite isopods. Does anybody here know if there's any new morphs of those that have popped up? Because I have the 3 lines, the orange crush, and red, and I'm pretty sure they're all the same thing. And I'm curious, has anybody isolated a Dalmatian form? Has anybody gotten a hypo? Has anybody gotten anything weird? I have the Armadillo CF officinalis from Israel, and I really like those two. They've got some really unique patterning, and they seem to get bigger than the officinalis that I have from Sicily. So I'm just curious if anybody's gotten any morphs of those going, or any mutants have popped up. I'd be really interested in getting some more of those because I really do love that isopod. Other news, isopod news. I have some Porcellio succinctus that have brood pouches. I lost my Porcellio magnificus cultures that I have. I've decided with some of these larger isopods that I've kind of, I have all these medium-sized critter keepers that I use for pretty much everything. But I think I'm coming to accept that some of these larger Spanish isopods basically need about a 5.5 gallon tank worth of floor space to do well. And so I'm reacquiring and upgrading a lot of those species into those, at least to do well for my purposes. I know somebody who's got a 6-quart container that's just like overflowing with Magnificus. It's actually the person I'm going to restart my colony from. So I've just sort of said, like, you know what? People have been back and forth with these larger Spanish ones, and the isopod hobby has had its boom and then its bust, and people will become interested again, especially in the Spanish species. So I was like, I might as well invest in this and reacquire the groups and put a good, honest effort into setting them up in their own enclosures this time to get them producing. And so that's what the succinctus was like, okay, this is a species a lot of people seem to be having issues with or have had issues with, and I'd like to get them going again. So I have a couple of them with swollen marsupia, and hoping that everything goes well in those containers. Actually, it reminds me, I need to contact the person I was going to meet up with for Oh, that's right. I have a call with somebody tonight. Oh, that's right. Alan, sorry about that. I have to get you your tracking number too. Billion things to do. Not enough life, force, or time to do them. Excuse me all one moment while I get Alan tracking his tracking number. Since I actually don't, it's been so long, I haven't actually communicated with Alan via uh, email in a very long time, so everything I have to do has to be sent to that. All right, my laundry's done at my neighbor's house. Another thing to do. Okay. How do you plan to move with all your bugs? I think, I'm debating a U-Haul between myself and a couple of people. I've got some medium-sized vehicles. Like I have an Escape, my dad has an Escape, Will has an Escape, and doing fleet movements of groups of bugs might be the way to go, or it might be getting a U-Haul and getting a bunch of insulation protective stuff to put all the glass tanks next to and whatnot. There are a lot of options. I'm not too concerned about it. We'll make it work. And probably be an hour ride from where I currently live, maybe an hour and a half, whatever. And so it won't be too bad to drive bugs in those conditions to a new location, then get them immediately offboarded. I'm going to be redoing a lot of my infrastructure when I move. All my racks will have wheels, so they can be moved around for cleaning and expansion and reduction and what have you. And so everything will go a lot more smoothly than the last time. I am absolutely certain of that. There will be a lot of mental and physical prep work in this situation. Everything's going to go a lot more smoothly than the last move, to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to have this shelf in this car, this shelf in this car, this shelf in this car. Take them there. We're going to unload them directly onto their final racks and all that other good stuff. So yeah, Convoy, Chains of Worlds, and your car always a good time to upgrade and reorganize. And again, this is the big final push. So all the important stuff that is going to happen has to happen at this time. And so again, I feel like I'm least concerned about moving the bugs. I feel like that's going to go, as I've been saying, very well, smoothly, quickly, etc. Most concerning is what the timetable is going to be looking like on getting a building built and having it up to specs and having it, have everything that I need and want in this situation. That is where the real devil is in the details, is in that situation. And obviously, again, if I'm to move this year and not have to pay rent on 2 properties and all this other stuff, that building needs to basically be done and ready for bugs by November of this year. Any colder than that, and I'm not going to be able to move things safely. So I don't want to look in the fact that I only have 5 months. We're going to just forget it. No, 5 months? 6 months. 6 months. 6 months, guys. I'm not going to think about that too much right now. First things first is getting the actual place. Before that is finding where I want to live. So, but yes, it's a lot of things happening all at the same time, as it always is. So, the dogs are going to be getting what is going to be the future gardening space, which is going to get fenced off with 6 foot, some sort of good quality 6 foot fencing that's going to last my lifetime and hopefully onwards from that, and a whole acre of it on flat, open land somewhere. Landwatch is a good site. Let me look into that. I'm going to keep that in mind. Land for sale, farms, ranches, etc. I'm going to save that for this Saturday. But thank you for posting that, Yukari. I will actually use that this Saturday. So, but again, before it becomes farmed area or garden area. Again, a whole acre, that's going to include fruit trees and all kinds of other stuff. But before that, it's going to be the dog and goat or sheep enclosure from the get-go, so I don't have to worry about them getting off and getting to mischief or running away or what have you, at least until they have fuller pastures to go out with stuff in full time. So sounds perfect for emus. Emus are another thing that's on the docket. I've always wanted emus, and that's coming too. But part of doing all this is I need to feel comfortable doing it sustainably, and so there's going to be a lot of land involved. Doing rotational native pasture for goats and whatnot is going to take a lot of land, and a handful of goats is going to be how it's going to be, but it's going to be the most cost-effective long term. It's what I'm going to feel comfortable with ecologically. So again, another reason why I need a lot of space is not just for the business. The whole business can probably be done on an acre, or maybe at maximum 2 acres, with supply storage and the building and all this other stuff. But it's all this other stuff that I want to do for, I guess, more personal, but I guess as another sort of business that is going to need more of the space, and that's where that all comes in. One of the thoughts I had is actually, excuse me, with my sewage problems here, with there's leaves and stuff going down the drains and causing blockage and all this other stuff. I want to look into reusing gray water. So basically, all the water that would be coming out of the business, because I'm not dumping anything radioactive. Sure, there's soaps and other chemicals I use for cleaning containers, but there's nothing ridiculously dangerous. But I want to see about having off the side of Roach Crossing, obviously the whole area is going to be landscaped anywhere that's not going to be used for storing supplies or propagating things, but having a very large rain garden to accommodate all the gray water runoff from that, and also the runoff from the building. So I want to really look into that and try to get things as sustainable and practical are the 2 words I want to go off of when it comes to that sort of planning. And obviously rain gardens look beautiful, so there's that too. But I need to look into regulations for gray water usage, and I'm the kind of crazy person who would look into a dry composting toilet system too for this too. Sounds like a pain to plan. Not really. I have a lot of experience planning and building rain gardens. What I'm more concerned about is if I set up the system with gray water runoff usage, and then eventually I have the DNR or the local ordinance or a federal investigation of, if I look to get upgraded for USDA FIS or whatever, that they're going to come out and see this and take issue with the drainage leaving the facility and going into, onto the property, not going into, proper sewage management for gray water stuff. And that's my primary concern, is I want to make sure that I'm following the laws with this stuff, because especially in Michigan, you can call 911 to report illegal runoff, is how seriously they take that, how seriously they take illegal dumping or illegal outflows in the state of Michigan, because we have so much water. So that's the thing. I don't want to have that happen. I want to be able to do everything and not worry about getting accosted. Meanwhile, knowing that, oh, hey, this stuff is whatever chemicals I'm dumping into the system are going to be absorbed and broken down, and I'm not growing food in this area. It's just for aesthetics, and life is going to adapt. If there's frogs here, it's not going to be mutagenic and cause some weird trophic cascade or some other debauchery. It's just going to be, the system's going to deal with the inputs, because that's how I'm going to design it. So that's what I'm hoping for. Fortunately, Angela's brother does a lot. He does environmental, there's adults like myself, and then there's higher level adults. And he works more closely with the state, and they do all kinds of dredging projects and things like that. And so he's going to be the person I'm going to go to and talk about this and see if there's anything more that can be done. Yeah, it is pretty interesting that's how concerned Michigan is. But in southeast Michigan, the Rouge River was absolutely horrible water quality. And then as time goes on, I wonder how much of that is part of it was obviously they were dumping anything and everything into it. That was a huge part of it, for chemical contamination, heavy metals, especially the lower Rouge. But another big part of it was, it's a recently formed glacial outflow influenced river system. It's not going to have crystal clear bottoms with perfect ripples and runs and cold water temperature and all the stuff throughout it, because a lot of it's sediment. A lot of it has always been sediment. It's named the Rouge River because it had reddish sediment that was apparent to even the settlers in the river. So it's never going to look like a clean, perfect, flawless river, like some people think it might be. But a lot of there's a significant amount of the sedimentation and chemical contamination that is directly due to man's influence. So Josh Suds asks, how do you get rid of mites on beetles? Depends. Sometimes they're mites you don't want to get rid of. You can use predatory mites. Changing the husbandry is my big recommendation for a lot of stuff. I've been using predatory mites to get rid of grain mites in a lot of enclosures. It worked like a charm over the winter. It was great. And I want to try and offer those predatory mites more regularly. That'll be something for the future facility, though, because it means I have to propagate grain mites in addition to be able to grow the predatory mites. But changing your husbandry, doing a substrate refresh is basically the textbook answer off the top of my head. Is the best way. Yep, there's Flint River. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Flint River, I don't think was contaminated. It was the pipes that were causing the issues with the Flint water crisis. I think the river is actually as fine as it could be. So, are the predatory mites annoying too? Always seemed like it might be train one. Not really. Alan had some issue with predatory mites or some sort of mite that was feeding on beetle larvae or something like that. But so far, with whatever hypoaspis or whatever they used to be or whatever the species is that's popped up in my culture, it's been great. They don't know anything. They don't eat springtails. They just go after strictly mites. I've been sprinkled them around in roach containers that had blossoming mite infestations, and it dealt with them over the course of a week. All the work that I would have had to do had I not done that is take all the roaches out, take all the egg cases out, clean all the food, any cleanup crew that's with them, completely sterilize the substrate or throw it out or put in new sterilized substrate. Clean the container, put the container back, hope that the mites don't come back, feed sparingly for a couple, all that blah, blah, blah. Instead, it was like, okay, just dash of predatory mites, and gray mites were just gone within a week. So, whatever the species that I have here and have had for quite a while, and they mostly pop up during the winter time, which is kind of weird because, well, I guess I get predatory mites both during. I get gray mites usually during the winter time if I'm overwatering the substrate and if there's like grainy food in there. The moisture of the substrate really encourages grain mites to reproduce. But then during the summertime, if I don't necessarily have that issue, just grains in a sealed container can start breeding grain mites because of the air humidity during the summertime. So, do you see little Kenyans more as climbers or burrowers? They're not really burrowers. They're more like they just stay on and under loose cover. They definitely do not burrow down like Pycnoscelis or even Panchlora nymphs do. They just sort of like stay under scraps of stuff. So, but well, he changed the worlds. He asked me how do I see how do you and how do I see little Kenyans? But they're definitely not like Pycnoscelis at all. So, oh boy. I have the same. Alan says, yeah, I was having huge problems with mine that had huge hypoaspis problem. Yeah, I haven't really seen any mites that have gone after my springtails. What has happened a handful of times is something happens in the springtail culture, like I overfeed or like I don't water on a good schedule, so like the food dries out but the substrate is still moist, and the springtails will die off from starvation or from the changing conditions. And then after that, the mites will pop up because then I like, oh, I gotta fix the husbandry, and I'll water overcompensate with watering or something like that, and grain mites will start to breed on the now moistened food, and then the predatory mites sort of surge in numbers, and then but the springtails are there and just fine through the whole thing. So Alan says, weirdly enough, my Pacnoda enclosure that I set up in Critter Keeper didn't have that problem. Also, they eat cardboard like nobody's business. Yeah, little Kenyans are quite ravenous. The Paraplecta. Good ventilation might be preventing them from exploding in numbers, says Alan. Again, that's another part of it. Again, it's teasing apart cause and effect, because when I first had these mites pop up in some of these springtail cultures, again, I was like, oh man, the mites ate all the springtails, and then further dissecting, it's no, the springtails died. Stuff started eating the corpses / eating the food that I overcompensated with, and then these predatory mites surged in numbers. And then when the predatory mites, once they've eaten up all the other mites, and there's a bit of an overlap between when the predatory mites are surging, when there's another hatch of springtails, then the predatory mites just sort of disappear and the springtails rebound again. So, and then the predatory mites don't come back. You'd think that with the springtail numbers go up again, you'd see, oh, the predatory mites go up in numbers again because they're eating them. But no, I don't. That's not what I see. So, anybody have any particular questions about anything? Anything that I have that you'd like to ask questions about or talk about? Otherwise, I think we're going to get ready to wrap up the stream. And besides, we're going to have a nice, long, cozy, personal stream tomorrow, which might actually explain. We got kind of low viewership today. We got pretty low viewership. Part of it might have been I didn't schedule the stream. That might have been a significant part of it. But part of it might also be that people are budgeting their time for tomorrow, because that's going to be the big event. Chain's Worlds has found some Azolla folliculoides, some neat liverworts. I just bought Ricchiocarpus natans and Ricchiocarpus fluitans. I found them both in the same pond. I'm going back to a pretty neat pond in a couple of weeks if I can get Brandon, Will, and Kai's and I's schedule to all align. Might end up just being me, Will, and Brandon. But there's my cousin's place has a nice old horse pond at the back that has a lot of, doesn't have any invasive aquatic plants in it. It's completely separated from other bodies of water except for a nice big marsh. It's all areas that haven't really been touched. Hasn't been farmed intensively or uprooted or invaded by things. So I'm looking forward to going back there and seeing what new stuff we kind of stumble across. Zen Monkey asked about any South African assassins to spike your interest. All the platymeris that I have, they're all doing quite good. I suppose, perhaps. I finally got ghosts. I finally got more ghosts to start hatching out, so I'm happy about that. I kind of thought that I lost them. Or something, but no, they're doing fine. Got those hatching. There's another point something else I was just gonna bring up. Thinking of ones that aren't in cultivation. No, I mean there's that was a Gutata penis that I want. Alan's having some Reduvius hatch. Congrats, Alan. You should feed them fruit flies. That's what I fed them, and they were doing well until I sort of stopped feeding them as much. But yeah, I think around here, Lucanus placidus flight should be any day now. We just need a hot night, and last night it got in the 40s, which is kind of like weird. And then today's been kind of a cooler day. It's been like in the 60s, but it's supposed to. We're getting the Summer's here. In a week, it's going to be in the 80s, and I'm hoping we get a nice 80-degree night after rain. And then, oh, shoot, I have to tell Kai, bring me lighting gear to leave here. Bring me lighting gear for Placidus flight if you're leaving for up north soon. Also, some fun beetle larvae to play with. I know you got some good stuff, Mr. Flex Winky Face. All right. Let's see what he brings me, if anything. Stream the light trap. I could do that. I'll see if Kai brings me the full ensemble. And my neighbor had a Placidus close in April in his greenhouse that he put up because the foundation is on like a rock patio, and he's got like mulch on his deeply mulched beds around the patio. So it was definitely matured in there and then left. Thought it was time to close earlier. But I'm going to try and light there and then light here too the same night because I do get pretty good enclosures from my yard. I found capreolus in my yard too. I think they want more moisture than my yard affords them. I think Placidus, the niche differentiation there is Placidus like sandy soils, and it will take a lot more. He's tired. It'll take a lot more dryness than capreolus will. I mean, capreolus is probably just like a general music forest species around here out of the two that we have. So I actually have some Placidus larvae that I wild collected. They were underneath the old this little mini chicken run I had going last year for the Florida chickens. And when I was turning it over in the fall and with a pitchfork just to kind of get rid of the poop on the surface, I found a couple of Lucanus larvae in there, and I'm pretty sure they're Placidus because again, Placidus is the most common in my yard. So they were just maybe about 3-4 inches under the surface of the soil in September. L3, just eating the mulch that I had been throwing down there, and so I took them in, raised them over the winter, threw them in the back of the fridge for a month and a half, maybe 2 months, and that was maybe like 3-4 weeks ago. Moved them downstairs in the cold room. Cold room is getting to be more of a lukewarm room now, so I just pulled them into the main bug room, and we're going to see if they get triggered to pupate. So yeah, maybe I'll get some captive born and bred Lucanus placidus available soon-ish. So, all right, last chance to ask some questions, everybody. And then I'm going to retire. And by retire, I mean I have to go pack some more bug orders. I have a phone call that I have to do. And Kai's going to be here at some point, I think after 10, to pick up some stuff, drop off some stuff, and all of that jazz. Yeah. I have one other thing to add, and this is a distant but not so distant future thing. So you guys are welcome to criticize and ridicule me for this, and you can actually throw stones if you want to. I don't care. There's a handful of things I actually forgot to put up in the auction. There's one on one of the racks downstairs. There's like one shelf of roaches that I must have completely glossed over. And then there's a couple of things in here that weren't ready yet that started producing. And so I'm thinking in June, after all the auction orders are shipped, is the asterisk here. Obviously, I'm going to get everybody's auction orders out first. But I'm thinking I'll do like a mini auction, do like a 2 to 4 hour mini auction, monthly auction. Oh my gosh, you guys are going to kill me. But I think I'm going to do a mini auction. We'll do a mini auction and cover a couple of those things that I didn't put up before, and a couple of things that are now available. Like, for example, at auction time, I didn't have any Taphiliska hatched yet. And now I think it was maybe a week or two after the auction, Taphiliska started hatching. And so I can make a couple of Taphiliska available. Kyle's personally trying to kill my bank account. Oh, man. So, but the way that I see it is, again, after all the auction orders are shipped, some extra funds really can't hurt right now with the move coming up. So, and not to just blame everything on the move, but also it's the start. I guess it's been the start for about a month now, but it's field season. People are finding stuff. And there's some things and in addition to field seasons, I was debating, depending on how things ended up going with the move and with the timetable and everything. I was debating going on a New Mexico, Texas trip this year, but super abbreviated in that Kai was going to pick me up from an airport in New Mexico or Arizona. And Alan was thinking about joining this too. And we were going to do like a week blitz of like a couple of very specific areas in New Mexico and West Texas. And, I really want Christina Woodeye, and that was part of that. And there's some stuff at that. But also I could also, instead of putting myself in harm's way, I could also just throw money at Kai and Alan to do that, in which case an auction to raise some funds for that would be able to justify it for everybody. Someone needs to make a meme about this. I will never financially recover from this. Auction right now, I'll give $25 for the bug shirt. Yeah, that's another thing. You got to get some Roach Crossing merch up and going. That's a huge other thing. I would like to do some really tongue-in-cheek shirts. There's a couple that we've talked about with the boys before. The thing is getting minimum orders to make it like, I don't think you guys aren't going to pay $40 or $50 for a bug shirt, are you? I mean, if you do, I'm not going to judge you, because I have paid up to $30 or $35 for t-shirts in the past. But the real thing there is getting it printed in large numbers, having whatever's on it appealing enough to a broad enough audience that people want to buy it regularly. But there are a couple of meme shirts that the boys and I have talked about. Somebody will steal this idea, but you know how there's that genus of scorpions that's Hoffmanius? Well, like, I think Will and I meme the main one where it's going to share with like a little like buffed out looking Hoffmanius sitting in the center of it, and have it say Mama's little Hoffmanius, like Mama's little man or whatever. So that was one. Very tempted to do a you sell bug now, or you catch bug now, with a picture of Alan on it. And there were a couple of other ones that we've talked about over time. Or like, don't talk to me in the morning. Don't talk to me before I've had my defensive secretions, or something like that. A whole bunch of stuff like that, But I'm probably Alan says I'm probably getting a job soon, so no more trips for me. Yeah, Alan, let me know if you think you're going to go on that trip. I would gladly pay you and Kai for the stuff that you find if you got Target things. But if you're not going, that makes me think maybe I have to go, because I know how Kai will collect stuff. Oh, I found this. Oh, there were a billion of them there, but I only caught one. Here you go. I thought you might like it. I don't even want it. I just caught 2 flecks. I only caught this extremely rare bug 2 flecks. I don't care about that. So Loki says, I have a week-long trip in Galveston, Texas planned next month. If there's anything there you want, you can email the list, and I'll keep an eye out. I have my own list of what I want planned. Loki, you're going to have to shoot me a text and stay in contact that way, because in hotspot places like that, you could literally find like everything you find could be something of interest. Actually, that's where the Eulastoblad abortiva are from, I think, is Galveston. So there's those bristle millipedes. Loki, I'll have to send it to you, and then whatever the next email is. There's those bristle millipedes that were found with the abortiva that I really, really want. The greenish ones that are good size. So that's one thing for sure. And see, that's one of those things where it's like, it's so small and it's so kind of off the wall that people may not notice it, or they may not even think somebody wants it. But then there's something like that where it's like, I'm really dying to work with those from there. So all right, guys, we're at an hour and a half, so I think I'm going to wrap things up and get back to work. I'm going to see, been talking to the Galveston location at INAT and drooling. Yeah, that's how it goes. I'm gonna get back to work and get ready for the miscellaneous things I have to do this evening before my garage cleaning all day tomorrow and shipping. So yeah, and I'll see you guys all. I'll see everybody at 9 p.m. tomorrow for the what's the name of that? What's the ridiculous name of that stream? We got live, we got upcoming, we got the Roach Crossing After Dark 500 plus subscribers special, which is going to be not civil, not formal, not professional. That's the degenerative stream, so people can ask me all kinds of weird personal questions and talk about things other than bugs. Although I am certain that things will inevitably come back to bugs because they are such an intimate part of my life, and that's okay. But it's basically the no holds barred live stream. So. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Jojo Macro. Every day we stray further away from God, says Alan. Couldn't be further from the truth. I will see you all tomorrow. Until then and beyond then, may your cultures ever be bountiful. Good night, everybody.